Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, where the Russian ceasefire started at 12 a.m. on the 8th of May of 2026. But the most important problem of the Russian ceasefire is that the Russian ceasefire was violated immediately by the Ukrainian side. And 2 hours before the Russians announced this, before the Russian ceasefire started, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation made another statement on this matter. The Russians stated that in accordance with the decision of President Putin on the days of commemoration of the 81st anniversary, the Russian side announces the armed sights from 12 a.m. of the 8th of May to 10th of May. During this specified period, all groups of Russian troops in the special military operation zone will completely cease fire. Also, the Russians emphasized that it is also recalled that in the event of attempts by the Kiev regime to disrupt the celebration of the 81st anniversary of the Victory Day, the armed force of the Russian Federation will launch a massive missile strike on the center of Kiev. Once again, the Russians warned the civilian population of Kiev and members of foreign diplomatic missions to leave the city in a timely manner. And when the ceasefire started, as we discussed, the Ukrainians violated the ceasefire immediately. But before the violation, the President of Ukraine, Zelensky, made lots of statements on this matter. He said that we are also receiving requests from some countries close to Russia that their representatives intend to be in Moscow. A strange request these days. We do not recommend this. Zelensky once again stated that Kyiv will act mirror style, which means that most likely during the 9th of May, the Ukrainians will launch a massive attack, and probably they will continue doing this also during the current day, during the 8th of May of 2026. And later, pro-Ukrainian sources published this picture where we can see the approximate routes of Ukrainian drones that were flying over the territory of Russia. As you can see, several waves were moving in the northern directions, several waves were moving in the southern directions, and one wave was moving in the central direction of Russia. And during the night, we start receiving lots of updates on this matter, explosions, videos, and so on. As for example, the city of Moscow, the mayor of the city stated that during the night, the Russians destroyed and intercepted up to 74 drones that were launched by Ukrainians in the direction of the city of Moscow. So this is already the biggest violation of the ceasefire according to the terms that were published by Russian side. Another important thing that this morning we received a detailed summary of the previous night violation from the Ukrainian side. The Russians stated that the Ukrainian armed forces carried out 153 attacks on Russian troops' positions using artillery, multiple launch rocket systems, mortars, and tanks. The Ukrainians also carried out 887 strikes using drones, including 394 strikes by FPV drones, 107 by octocopters, 171 by drones, wing aircraft drones, and 215 by dropping munitions. So a total of 1,365 ceasefire violations were recorded in the special military operation zone. So, and once again, this is the biggest violation. Furthermore, during the night, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, not just during the night, but during the previous 24 hours, the Russians were also reporting on the matter of the air defense work. For example, yesterday between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m., the Russians destroyed 82 Ukrainian drones. For example, between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., the Russians destroyed another 101 drones of the armed forces of Ukraine that were launched deep inside of the territory of Russia. For example, during the evening, the Russians destroyed 95 drones, and during the night, the Russians destroyed additional 264 drones launched by the armed forces of Ukraine. So, as we can see, the biggest violation ever. At the same time, pro-Ukrainian sources stated that the Russians also attacked the territory of Ukraine with drones, and the Ukrainians stated that the Russians used 67 drones for these purposes, but with one important exception, that 67 drones were launched by Russians between 4 p.m. of the 7th of May of 2026 till 8 a.m. of the 8th of May of 2026, which means that all these 67 drones could be launched by Russians during the evening of the 7th of May, and nothing was launched during the previous night. So as we can see, the situation is critical. We see that Zelensky ignored either the ceasefire itself and the ultimatum of the Russian Federation and the threats that were issued by Russia as well about attacks in the central part of the city of Kiev. So what we have as of the morning of the 8th of May, we have videos confirming that the Ukrainians attacked lots of positions. During the night, explosions were recorded on the territory of the city of Yaroslavl. The sources are saying that, as for this city, the Ukrainians once again attacked the Yaroslavl oil refinery. In this video, we can see a fire broke out on the territory of this plant. So this is another video about the situation in the city of Yaroslavl. Civilians were filming a sky over the place where fire broke out. So the situation remains tense. Furthermore, according to information we have, the Ukrainians once again attacked the city of Perm and objects of oil infrastructure through the city. This video was published this morning by local sources. Here we can see black smoke over the objects of energy infrastructure. Furthermore, the sources stated that lots of explosions and attacks were recorded in the most southern parts of Russia in the city of Grozny. In this video, we can see a drone flying over the settlement, and in this video, we can see how probably this drone attacked a building in the most central part of the settlement. So we see that the Ukrainians attacked in many directions, and due to the fact that the Russians mainly were focused on strengthening their air defense positions around the city of Moscow, we see that other regions of Russia suffered some losses and some damages. And the most important videos are coming from the city of Rostov-on-Don. And this is not just another city on the territory of the Russian Federation. This is the city with headquarters and with the general staff of the armed force of the Russian Federation. And the Ukrainians, it seems, were trying to hit maybe the general staff. This is the picture of consequences of attack, black smoke over the settlement. Here we have the burning fire broke out at some place in the city of Rostov. A very big fire. As you can see, maybe an ammo depot warehouse was destroyed. And these are different pictures and videos also from the city of Rostov-on-Don, where we can see the consequences of the overnight attack that was carried out by the armed forces of Ukraine. So lots of explosions were recorded, and we see that the 8th of May, this ceasefire, at least for the 8th of May of 2026, was completely violated by the Ukrainian side. Of course, the Russians will not strike back. Maybe they will mirror some attacks and something like this, but obviously the Russians will wait till the end of the 9th of May. And most likely, according to these updates, most likely during the 10th or 11th or 12th of May of 2026, the Russians will carry out massive attack through the entire territory of Ukraine, and most likely the Russians will also attack the city of Kiev using probably thousands of drones and hundreds of missiles. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the northern directions. And once again, I would like to point your attention that something strange and probably weird is happening in the northern parts of the Chernihiv region. If you remember, just yesterday we discussed this video that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and according to this video, a very huge fire broke out through the most northern parts of Chernihiv region. And if you remember, yesterday we discussed that this is something interesting, something strange. It seems that this might be something like a false operation or attempts to distract the Ukrainians or the Russian attention. And it seems that under the cover of this smoke, under the cover of this fire, the Russians, either the Russians or the Ukrainians, are planning to carry out something along the border. So we discussed this yesterday, and today we received another interesting update on this matter. So we have fire anomalies, and as you can see, the fire, the square of the fire covers lots of square kilometers along the border. And this is the fresh satellite picture that was made this morning. And if we take this satellite picture and if we move this satellite picture to the northern parts of Chernihiv region, so we can say that these territories are already covered with the biggest fire through the northern parts of Chernihiv region, and this is a very big territories. And the most important thing, that smoke, this is just an area of fire, but we need to understand that the smoke from this fire can cover something like this, and this is a perfect foothold, a perfect situation for a special operation, even for offensive, because neither drones nor satellites will be able to collect information about the situation in this region. And under the cover of the smoke, anybody, both the Russians and the Ukrainians, can carry out an offensive operation. The Russians can attack the city of Chernihiv and even to get as close as possible and to take many territories under control. And under the cover of the smoke, the Ukrainians can also concentrate forces and then to attack in the northern direction towards the Bryansk Oblast. So I think that we need to pay attention, to keep an eye on this area, because something may happen on the 10th of May after the Russians carry out massive missile attack. The Russians may begin this offensive operation, and this offensive operation can change the entire situation in the military, from the military mean. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation on the ground. First, let's talk about the Sumy direction. Small changes were recorded around the settlements of Ryasna, Taraturina and the Krasnopolye. Based on the reports that were published by different sources, we added infiltration area. The Russians continue advancing further in the western direction, but as of the 8th of May, the Russians are not moving according to the ceasefire that was announced by the President of Russia. The Volchansk direction, we have a video published from the settlement of Zybina. Here we can see Ukrainian FPV drone attack on the Russian positions. This video confirms that the settlement of Zybina was taken by Russians. We haven't received anything from Kupinsk, Barovo direction, probably nothing from the Slaviansk direction. We have important things, updates from the Dobropolye, Kramatorsk directions. So let's discuss everything in details. The Russians during the night attacked the city of Kramatorsk, and we have a fire broke out on the territory of the city. It seems that the Russians managed to destroy an ammo depot or a warehouse of the armored forces of Ukraine in this area, and as a result of explosion, we have this fire and this black smoke. Another important update is the city of Drushkovka. Now let's talk about the city of Drushkovka. During the previous 12 hours, the Russians attacked the settlement. We have this video. We have the consequences of the Russian aviation attack. As a result of attack, a building was completely destroyed. The city of Konstantinovka, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians continued dropping instructions on positions of the armored forces of Ukraine in the most northeastern parts of the settlement. In this video, we can see a Russian drone that was flying over these territories and dropping instructions on positions of the armored forces of Ukraine, suggesting the Ukrainians to surrender or to fall back from these territories without showing any resistance to the Russian troops. We believe that after the end of the ceasefire, the Russians will continue offensive operation exactly towards positions where the Russians dropped instructions. The Drushkovka-Dobropolye direction, during the previous 12 hours, additional changes were recorded, and these are the changes between the dates between the 5th of May and the 8th of May. This is the end of the 5th of May. The Russians improved their positions further in the northern direction, and this is the beginning of the 8th of May. The Russians continue infiltration process, getting as close as possible to the TO 514 road between the cities of Dobropolye and Kramatorsk with the purpose to disrupt the Ukraine's logistics in this region and to encircle the cities of Drushkovka, Kramatorsk and Konstantinovka from behind. This Dnipropetrovsk direction, the Russians improved their positions on the territory of the settlement of Novopavlovka. The Russians are about to cross the river of Volcha in this area and to begin the battle for the most northern parts of the settlement. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous 12 hours, additional changes were recorded around the settlement of Lugovskoye. These are the changes on the ground between the dates. So we have a video published by pro-Ukrainian sources. Here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking edge positions of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map. As for the western Zaporozhye direction, according to different sources, the Ukrainians continue their counter-offensive operation in this area, and as you can see, the map in this direction has been adjusted significantly since the beginning of May of 2026. So, for example, this is the situation by the end of the April of 2026. Most of these territories used to be either under complete control of Russians or in the gray zone. But in the end of April and at the beginning of May, the Ukrainians began their counter-offensive operation, and as a result of the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation, the Ukrainians managed to improve their position significantly, and currently, according to different sources, the clashes are taking place for the settlement of Stepnohirsk. But one important thing, yet we haven't received anything that can confirm this. We are talking about videos when talking about the battle for Stepnohirsk, but probably the video will be published soon. Meanwhile, the Russians continue bombing and attacking positions of the armed forces of Ukraine in the area of the settlements of Tavriska, the main logistic hub that the Ukrainians use for the logistic purposes, and for these counter-offensive purposes, the Russians discovered concentration of Ukrainian troops in their main logistic lines, so that is why the Russians are bombing and attacking this territory with all types of weapons they have. Another important area is the Kherson direction. During the previous 12 hours, additional explosions and strikes were recorded on the territory of the city of Nikolaev. Several trains were completely destroyed in this region. We have covered most of the updates regarding the conflict on the territory of Ukraine. During the upcoming 8th of May of 2026, we expect additional escalation. Most likely, the Ukrainians will continue attacking the territory of Russia, because once again, the Russians managed to improve their air defense position significantly around the city of Moscow, but currently nobody knows what is the status of the Russian air defense through the entire territory of Russia. So which means that Zelensky may try to attack any part of the Russian Federation in coming day. Now let's discuss the situation in the Middle East. Another round of escalation took place overnight. According to information we have, the US destroyers were trying during the previous night, to help several vessels from the Persian Gulf to safely pass the Strait of Hormuz, but something went wrong. This morning, the Central Command of the United States of America made a statement on this matter. The US forces intercepted unprovoked Iranian attacks and responded with self-defense strikes. Iranian force launched multiple missiles, drones, and small boats as US Navy guided missile destroyers transited the international sea passage. No US assets were struck. US Central Command eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities, including missiles and drones launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes. US Central Command does not seek escalation but remains positioned and ready to protect American forces. At the same time, the President of the United States of America made almost a similar statement. He was talking about the same situation. 3 world-class American destroyers just transited very successfully out of the Strait of Hormuz under fire. There was no damage done to the 3 destroyers, but great damage done to the Iranian attackers. They were completely destroyed, along with numerous small boats which are being used to take the place of their fully decaptivated navy. These boats went down to the bottom of the sea. So the thing is that once again, the United States of America sent 3 destroyers in the direction of the Persian Gulf with the purpose to create a convoy with the 3 vessels or tankers that were located on the territory of the Persian Gulf. First, they entered the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz, being completely undamaged by the Iranian forces, and probably somewhere in this area, the US destroyers began moving back in the direction of Gulf of Oman and Indian Ocean and the Arabian Ocean. But the Iranians didn't allow anybody to leave the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf without their permission, and the Iranians began bombing and attacking the tankers and vessels that were moving through this area, commercial vessels and tankers. And this video was published by the Iranian sources, and here we can see how the Iranians were attacking vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. And later we received several satellite pictures where we can see fire broke out through the Strait of Hormuz, at least at two places, around off the shore of Oman and off the shore of Iran. So at least two places where fire anomalies were recorded. Most likely, when talking about the area around the Strait of Oman, these are the vessels and tankers that the United States of America were trying to allow to pass through the Strait of Hormuz safely. As for this fire anomaly, means probably this is a tanker or a vessel that was linked to Iranian ports that was destroyed by the counter fire from the US destroyers. Furthermore, we had reports that the US attacked the island of Qeshm. We had reports that official sources stated that the US authorities struck bases and port infrastructure in this area, probably launching sites that were used by the Iranians to attack the US destroyers and the commercial vessels that were trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz. So the US stated that they're not seeking for escalation. We'll see what is going to happen next, but one thing is clear, that this round is after behind the Iranian side. They didn't allow anybody to leave the Strait of Hormuz, despite the fact that the vessels and tankers were supported and convoyed by the US Navy military ships and destroyers. So this is a very important signal. And another important thing, that this operation started right after we received reports that Saudi Arabia and Kuwait have restored US military access to their bases and airspace after briefly restricting support for Washington's Strait of Hormuz mission, easing tensions with the administration. So it seems that once again the United States of America received the green light for any operation in this area, and most likely this is not the first and the last attempt. This is not the last attempt when the US will try to help the ships and vessels from the Persian Gulf to cross the Strait of Hormuz safely. Most likely in coming days we'll see more and more attempts of this situation. And we have a map where we can see the approximate line of blockade, and here we can see the US destroyers and ships that are moving in this area and controlling the situation and not allowing the Ukrainian vessels and tankers to cross the territory. And that's it for the short video. The Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.